Hey everybody, it's Mike from Orderflows and welcome back to my channel. Today what I'll talk about is the GoCharting platform for using Orderflows Trader. And, the nice thing about the GoCharting platform is it's web-based. So, if you're on a Mac or, you're on the go and you want to watch the market from your phone, you can actually do that with the GoCharting platform. And I posted a video earlier in the week. I did a very long presentation over the weekend on GoCharting, and I got a lot of questions about how to set up the chart. How to get it to look like what you're looking at right here. And I just want to take you sort of through the steps. It's very easy to set up. You don't really need my template or anything like that. But I'll just take you through the whole setup very quick. So let me just take off the Orderflows Trader here, and I'm going to change this from a footprint chart, or they call it cluster chart, on GoCharting. I'm going to just start with the basic candlestick chart, and I'm also going to take off this bar statistics panel, just so really starting from scratch. Okay, so if you're starting from just the basic footprint chart, or sorry, basic candlestick chart, and you want to get the footprint chart, this is what you do, right? What you do is first go to charts, okay? Click on cluster, right? It's Alt F if you were to use the keyboard. That will give you the footprint. That's the basic footprint, right? With the the point of control, the volumes on the bid, the volumes on the offer. Now, what you got to do is you go into layers really quick. And again, if it doesn't look like this, you may need to adjust it. Say you have, some people like to look at just, sort of one thing of numbers, right? I prefer two. So the cluster is going to be from single, you can change it to double, all right? And then on the left side of the bar, right, the left cluster, you're going to set that to sell volume. You have a lot of choices in here. There's trades, buy trades, sell trades, etc. Use the sell volume. That's the actual amount of volume that's traded on the bid side. And then for the right cluster, you're going to want to make it the buy volume, okay, because that's the amount of volume traded on the offer side, right? And it does get a little confusing for people. Say, well, why is that the buy volume if that's where sellers are? Well, it's passive sellers. But what you have is the aggressive buyers, right? That's why if it trades on the right-hand side, it's aggressive buyers buying from passive sellers, right? Remember, it's a two-way auction. So for every buyer, there's a seller, right? You can't have a trade unless there's somebody buys it from someone, or someone, sells it to another person. Now, one thing that I like to do, I like black as my text color. So, you're going to want to say where it says text right here. You can just click on that and, set it to black. Okay. Same. Otherwise, if you have gray, some guys, like to have different colors for, their text. I know some people have, some form of vision impairment. As we get older, our eyesight starts to go a bit. But that's what you want to. I like to keep it black on a white background. I know some people like to use a black chart with white text, or the opposite. But again, to each their own. Now, the imbalances. Okay, make sure you have it enabled. I like to have the imbalances colored blue for a buying imbalance and red for a selling imbalance. Okay, that's me. Some people don't want to have those color schemes, etc. But if there's a buying imbalance, I know that that's aggressive buying at a level. I want to have that highlighted to me, okay? And that's where having the colors highlighted will give you a big advantage, in my opinion. So make sure you have that box checked. Now, there is another box here where it says imbalance color. Okay, if you were to click on that and change the color to, I don't in this case, I'll make it orange. Okay, what that will show you is it will also highlight that price level on the bid or the offer where there is an imbalance also. Okay, so maybe you want an extra whack over the head saying, hey, you know what, there's an imbalance here. You can do that. I don't think you really need that. But again, some people, you may find that useful in your trading, because maybe depending on where the imbalance appears in the bar is going to be important to you as well. Now they have another choice here, show support and resistance zones. If you click on that, right, it's going to show you where the stacked imbalances are, right? This is a stacked buying imbalance here. I think earlier we had a stacked selling imbalance right here, okay? Now, for that stacked imbalance, you could set the number of imbalances you want to see in there. 3, I believe, is the default, but again, you could set it to 4, you could set it to 2 even, right? And you're going to get a bit more, right? Here's 2 here, here's 2 here. And if it isn't traded into in the next bar or so, it will draw it out, right? It'll draw this zone out like that. And some people like to use that as a support and resistance level. Now, really important, what level are you going to use for your imbalance? Okay, I like to use 4 to 1. Some people like to use 3 to 1. Some people like to use 5 to 1. 4 to 1 to me is good, meaning I have 4 times as many aggressive sellers than passive, aggressive traders than passive traders. Meaning, for example here, right, you see 16 against 109. That is greater in this two-way auction. You have more aggressive buying by a ratio of at least 4 to 1 on the offer here, okay? So that's what it is. So let me just turn off this imbalance. Now, point of control, okay? There's sort of 2 settings on this point of control, okay? And the first one, point of control, is showing you sort of the price level in the bar. Let me turn off this other one, volume point of control. The price is in the bar either on the bid side or the offer side. It has the most volume. So it's showing here, well, let's start here. Right, on this bar right here in the middle, it's got both the bid and the offer, the same price. It's the highest volume on the bid side is at this price. The highest volume on the offer is at this price, and it's the same price level. Most of the time, that's going to be the same. However, there's going to be some times where it is a little bit lopsided, right? You can see here, this is the price level with the most volume on the bid side. This is the price level with the most volume on the offer side. So it's 2 different levels. And, I'm going to make a video about this particular what do you want to call it, setup in a way, on how you can take advantage of that. But for now, if you want the traditional point of control, it's going to be this volume point of control. Okay, so I'll take off this POC. So it's the volume point of control. So it's green color, right? And you can see it appearing in each bar, right? Now this is just the one level in the bar with the most volume. Okay, now you could extend it out, right? The sort of the naked or virgin point of control, which to me is a very useful tool. They've already had this one in GoCharting, as sort of one of their default settings, and it's nice to see these bars where the next bar doesn't come back in and trade to that point of control. Okay, and if you want to see where the previous bar's point of control was, you can click on previous point of control marker. And it's important to know that sometimes, I think you can see it pretty easily without having to use this, but on a market that's moving up, generally you're going to see the next bar sort of come back down and test that point of control. Okay, just as if the market was going down, it'd be testing it in the reverse side. And oftentimes you can see where it just literally comes right down, to the tick. Oftentimes, right? Here it gets past it by 2 ticks, comes right down within 1 tick here. And again, it's one of those things where, it's a nice visual thing. But again, there's a lot of tools on this. It's a very robust charting platform. And you don't necessarily need to put everything all up on your screen at once, because ultimately it may confuse you. Okay. So these are the basic sort of settings, right, that I'm going to use on a cluster chart. Now, to add the Orderflows Trader add-on, right, you're going to go to Studies up here, and you're going to click on Order Flow. You're going to find Orderflows Trader in the menu here. You just click on that. Okay. Now you've added the Orderflows Trader, and you can go through and decide which parts of the Orderflows Trader you want to use. So you're going to minimize the cluster settings and go to Orderflows Trader, and you can see we have quite a few. We got exhaustion prints, imbalance reversal, the ratios, slingshot point of control, market weakness, sequencing, market sweep, prominent point of controls, zero prints, inverse imbalance, multiple imbalances, buying and selling tails, and thin prints. Now again, it's up to you to decide which ones you want to use. For E-minis, I would recommend, you can turn on exhaustion prints. You could even have, well, yeah, actually you could have most of these on there. If I were to turn them all on, okay, they're not all going to fire at the same time, but if you want, you can turn these all on. I don't necessarily think you really need to. The way I advocate trading with order flow, since it's a lot of information, you don't want to sort of run into areas where you have too much information. Okay, you want to sort of focus on the things that resonate with you, that you can understand, right? So for example, okay, what is it? Here, sequencing. Okay, bullish is bullish and bearish sequencing. Let's talk about this a bit. It's right here. This is bullish sequencing. This is bearish sequencing, right? You got this little move down, a little move up, and it's highlighting on the bar where it's appearing here, right? That's this sort of magenta area. That's this red area on the red down candle. Another thing that I like to use, I was talking about it yesterday in a separate video, was the prominent point of controls, right? This is a bullish prominent point of control right here. Market had a nice move up. Here's a bearish one, but we traded right through it, right away. So, there's a lot of tools. Right now, you can get the Orderflows Trader add-on for GoCharting for free until the end of August, okay? And, after that, it's going to become a paid add-on. But, it's, the nice thing is it does, right now, it works with all the different contracts. So, that's the, here, that's E-minis, right? You can go, micro NASDAQ if you want, MNQ. There we go, make sure that's September on here. Now, again, MNQ is a bigger contract, and you can see in here, right, all the different things. Now, on a different market, right, like MNQ, maybe you don't want to probably use sequencing or market sweeps. You're going to sort of refine what you're looking at, right? For MNQ, I like to use, let me just clean this up, buying, selling tails. I don't need multiple imbalances. Zero prints I don't need. Prominent point of controls, market weakness, slingshot, order flows ratio, imbalance reversal, and inverse imbalances, okay? And again, some other contracts, even if you were into ETFs, right? SPY. There you go. Here's SPY, right? QQQ. Okay. Euros, FX, Forex, Euro CAD or something. I'm just choosing one at random, right? You can see it's going to take sometimes to get the data. There you go. First time you launch the contract, can take a while. Now, one other thing I do want to add really quick. Let me just go back to the Euro futures 6E. The bar statistics. Okay, I didn't talk about that. But those are like the delta, the volume, the max delta, the min delta. You got to go to study. Where is it here? Under order flow, click on bar statistic. Okay, and it's going to be right here. Now, depending on what you want to look at, again, this also has a lot of robust features in there. Not just this. You could go in and set up what you want to look at. Let me open this up here. And you can see there's all these metrics. For me personally, I like to see just the volume, the delta, the max delta, the min delta, the cumulative delta, and delta percentage. But if you want to see other things, I don't, where we are with VWAP. I don't know what that one works. Honestly, there's so much of these. I haven't even explored into there all of this, but I like to look at the information that I'm familiar with that's going to help my trading. I'm sure once I sit down and sort of go through all these different ones, I'm sure I'll find a few that can help me. Max volume, whatever that is, max value, the most very probably. Let me just open this up a bit here. Whoops. Okay, you can see there's max volume, min volumes, etc. And for some of you guys, you may find that useful. You may not. Again, you can choose what you want to put on there. Now, another tool, which I haven't really gone into, but it's very useful, is the delta bars. Okay, so it's a candlestick form of delta. Okay, and let me just minimize this. Open this up here, and you can see, right, you could adjust the colors, etc. On it, and you could even run sort of a moving average. I don't want to get into this right now. It's a more advanced concept, but you could. There's ways you could use. Me, I like to use pattern recognition. There's certain types of delta candles that I like to look at. I've done a presentation on this years ago. I should refresh that. But there are certain. Basically, what you're looking at with a delta candle is the max min delta in the bar as well as the final delta where it appeared. So, for example, here, this candle, right? You got this little red candle here. Okay, well, obviously, every bar, the candle opens at 0 in terms of delta, and it went down to minus 60. That's why you see this wick here, right down here. But it only closed at, delta closed at minus 18, right? So it's negative. That's why you have the small body. So you got the long wick, right here, and the small body. Okay, now what one of the unique things about GoCharting, right, is the software, you can have the software draw a line where you have this bar and delta divergence, right, and that's important. So I know that this candle, right, I see this red area. Okay, so it's telling me that you got negative delta on this green candle, just as if you got this red candle here with positive delta. Okay, and there's certain ways to trade that. Okay, but I'm not going to get into that right now. Look for another video on it. But again, if you haven't watched that video that I posted the other day, it's a long one. It's almost close to 2 hours. But I really go in depth on the GoCharting platform, and it's a great way to get started with order flow. At a low price, right? And especially if you're interested in the Orderflows Trader software, it's a great way to get introduced to it because I said right now it's available for free till the end of August of 2023, after which it'll become a paid add-on, but again, not at an overly expensive price. And, it works on futures, Forex, crypto, what do we got here? BTC, USD. Right, this is a 1-minute chart. Remember, yesterday we had that big dump in crypto. So here it's gathering all the statistics here for me. So it might take a little while for it to come up here, but that's pretty quick, right? So you can see, right? It's still coming in, still filling in the data, but right now this is where are we here? It is Friday morning, about 10:20. All right, so this is a 15-minute chart. Let me just go to sort of a shorter chart. And it looks like, oh, hey, there's no footprint here. What you have to do is you have to expand it, right? And when you're dealing with crypto, right, your settings for the footprint, right, use auto mode for crypto. So you can see the footprint here. right? So you could see certain things happening, developing in the order flow on your chart, right? And maybe you don't want to use the delta bars, right? So you just close it down. Maybe you don't want to use the bar statistics for crypto. You just delete it, right? To add it back, you just go under studies, right? If you want the bar statistics back, go to bar statistics, right? If you want the delta bars back, you just go to delta bars. Okay, so that's the Go Charting. That's a very, very quick and short explanation of the Go Charting platform. And again, I got some links down in the chat, or not the chat, but in the comments section. If you're interested in it, right now for the futures data, they do have a special discount price running, where you can get it for just $10 a month as opposed to $30 or $10 for the first month. But then after the first month, it will go back up to $35. But again, that's a drop in the bucket compared to what you'd be paying for data from any other provider. And again, if you're interested in testing out the Orderflows Trader software, it's available for free on the GoCharting platform until the end of this month, end of August. So thanks everyone, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye-bye.